Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Expo Factor with me, Lee Ali. Today we're diving into something that sits at the heart of every great exhibition, and that is the power of authentic human connection. Our guest, Rob Lawless, spent the last 10 years on a remarkable mission to meet 10,000 people 1 hour at a time, simply to get to know them. So far on his journey, he's spoken with over 7,000 people across 90 countries, and I am number 7244. And what he's learned is that behind every face, every title, and every badge is a story that can change how we see the world. Together, we explore what trade show professionals can learn from Rob's journey. So let's say hello to Rob and dive right in. Hi, Rob. Welcome to the Expo Factor. Great to have you on this episode.
Yeah, thank you, Lee. Good to see you again.
Yeah, likewise. It was great meeting you at IMEX, and I was really impressed with is your talk on the power of human connection, and how that kind of resonated with me in terms of helping the exhibitors engage with their attendees in a more meaningful way. So you're the founder of Rob's 10K Friends. Tell me, how did you come up with this concept and what motivated you to go on this journey?
Yeah, so I started it in November of 2015. I loved getting to know people in high school, in college. I was very involved as a student and had a very social experience. And I
Yeah,
think I was seeing even in college that the people I was meeting my first year were changing the trajectory of my path because they were encouraging me to get into other clubs.
yeah,
And then the people from those clubs were becoming my best friends, and those relationships were lasting much longer than what I was learning in the classroom. And I just think every person is a gift, and you never know what you're going to get until you take the time to unwrap that gift. And to me,
yeah,
that's so fascinating. I think a lot of us, with connection in our lives, we all understand that anyone can change our path at any time,
yeah,
but we tend to be very passive about it. Like, they'll
yeah,
come into my life, it'll be fate.
yeah,
And I wanted to understand, well, what happens if you take control of that and you go out
yeah,
and you say, okay, I'm going to meet 10,000 different people intentionally
yeah,
and do it without any agenda, because after school it felt like people were only connecting when there was some type of transaction
yeah,
or some type of agenda. And to me, I was like, well, why would I stop this style of connection just because school stopped?
yeah,
I want to
yeah,
bring it back into my life, because I had studied finance and went into consulting for Deloitte for a year and 3 months. And then I was working for a tech startup for a year and 9 months. Consulting, I thought, oh, great, there would be a lot of human interaction, but it was just
yeah,
staring into Excel and PowerPoint for 12 hours a day. And
yeah,
sales, I thought the same thing. Okay, a lot of human interaction, but then I realized it's a numbers game.
yeah,
So I just wanted to reintroduce genuine connection to my life. And November 11th of 2015, I met the first person for this journey.
yeah.
And over the next 8 months, met about 100 more people. And then at the end of those 8 months, was laid off. So I jumped into the project full time in June of
You're right.
2016,
Okay.
and have been doing it full time ever since. Met people in person in Philly, where I'm from. I met people
Yeah.
in Los Angeles, where I lived for a bit, in Hoboken. And then in March of 2020, I went virtual with the project. By that time, I'd met like
Right.
3,300 people in person.
Wow.
And
Okay.
I thought that everyone was going to be in person for the journey. And then, of course,
Yeah.
COVID changed a lot of our
Yeah.
lives.
Everything. Yeah.
And I went virtual. So now I've met people from over 90 different countries around the world.
Fantastic.
Yeah, incredible stories. I mean, and that's the thing that I love about genuine connection is the novelty has not worn off, and the
Yeah.
impact of people's stories on my life has not worn off. I mean, I met this guy 2 months ago who lives in India, and
Yeah.
he had actually responded to an Instagram story of mine back in 2021. And
Yeah.
then we just connected recently, and his life totally changed between that time, because in 2023, so he got into mountaineering and climbing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he was climbing Mount Annapurna in Nepal,
Right. Yeah.
and he fell off of the mountain during his climb, and he fell 210 feet down into the crevice of a glacier, and he
Wow.
was hanging down there by himself for 3 days and 3 nights.
Wow. What an experience.
Yeah, so they sent a body recovery mission because they were like, there's no way this guy's still alive. And they just went to get his body to bring it off the mountain. Got to him, he had been buried in an avalanche. They found him, he was still breathing. They did 4 hours of CPR on him. He had to have like fingers amputated, 50% of his skin grafted, but he survived. and now
Yeah.
he's living life, and he's actually advocating for the protection of glaciers because that glacier saved his life. So this
Yeah.
was 2 months ago, and I've been doing this project for 10 years. And so to me, that's the fascinating thing about connection is like you never know what you're going to learn from someone's story or
Yeah. Yeah.
the mindset it's going to give to you or the opportunities it's going to create. So that's,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the journey I've been on.
Oh, fantastic. Have you completed the 10,000 friends now, or are you still going?
Oh, I'm still going. So you are, let's see, because you are now part of the journey. You're 7,244.
7244. I'm going to
Yes.
put those numbers on the lottery this weekend.
Yeah, do it. If you win, we'll split it.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Now, having met people in 90 countries and over 7,000 people, are there any universal truths that you've come across that apply across the whole 90 countries across humanity? Because obviously there's different cultures, but we're all human beings. Well, from a connection point of view, are there any universal laws that you've seen across those 7,244 people that you've met?
The biggest thing I've learned is that no one really knows what they're doing with their lives. Everyone's just doing the best they can with the resources
Yeah,
that they have.
yeah,
And so many people struggle with comparison culture. Like the old days, it was keeping up with the Joneses. Now it's comparison culture on social media. And I think a
yeah,
lot of people go through their life thinking everyone but me has this figured out. And I've just
yeah,
realized if you are a human, you have uncertainty and you have
yeah,
insecurity, and that's
yeah,
okay. So
yeah,
you can just walk alongside that and acknowledge it. And to be human is to go through cycles of confidence and doubt. But if you feel like you're the only one going through that, it can be isolating. If you connect with other people and realize, hey, we're all going through this, then it can be comforting. And you can just
yeah,
recognize, hey, I'm in a stage. The other
yeah,
thing is, in my talk, we talked through this friend framework, which, in my
yeah,
opinion, is just a really great way to get to know people. Because
yeah,
if you think about their life like a timeline and ask questions within their family and relationships, their industry, like their education path into their career,
yeah,
their entertainment hobbies outside of work, and their needs and dreams for the future, you can
yeah,
get to know anyone. Because to be a human as well, like you have to have a family dynamic. Some people
yeah,
have divorced parents, some people have deceased parents, some people's parents are
yeah,
still alive, still together,
yeah,
but we all have a family dynamic. We all have some type of education story, even if we dropped
yeah,
out in 8th grade or if we got our PhD.
yeah,
We all have things that we enjoy when we're not at work, and we all have dreams for our future
yeah,
and needs to get there. So to me, that's the beautiful thing. Like it unifies all of us. And
yeah.
the details are very interesting because when the details are the same, that's cool. You could get to form a connection with the other person. When the details are different, also cool because then you get to learn and expand your experience. So,
Mindset. Yeah.
journey.
Right, okay, fantastic. How do you typically prepare then, mentally speaking? Prepare, do you have a process that you actually go through to get yourself ready?
Not really. I think I have always just gone in with a blank slate and like trying to eliminate any preconceived judgments or notions of what this person might be, and really
Yeah,
just sitting back and letting them tell me who they are. So
yeah,
curiosity is a big theme in this journey for me. And I think I realized very quickly that it's very easy to feel comfortable with someone after an hour. And
yeah.
so I just started to show up with that comfort to begin with. And then I think it helped put other people at ease. So understanding that at the end of this, you'll have a connection with that person, allow yourself to lower the pressure of the situation a little bit from the start.
So let's apply these principles to the world of trade shows and business, where obviously exhibitions, events, conferences, they're all set up to bring people together.
Hmm.
Yet, in my experience, we put so much in the way of people actually having that genuine connection experience. Okay, so for example, at a trade show, it may be the technology, it may be the fact that people have a badge scanner and they've been told to get numbers and they just say, can I scan your badge to get those numbers? But it kind of deflects from what they're really trying to achieve is to find more customers and actually connect with them. So, what would you say? What kind of lessons from your project so far can businesses take in terms of applying that to their engagement process?
Yeah, I think like the products that these people have and their companies are often there to serve and solve a pain point for their customer. That's a piece of connection. That's like the logical thing. But that deep connection is not going to be formed on your work title or the fact that you have a similar sibling setup and you have similar experiences of getting beat up by your older brother when you were a kid, and
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
think back on those memories together. So it's one, understanding that there's more to the people we're interacting with than
yeah,
their work role and responsibility. And and two, diving into that. So that's all the other
Yeah.
pieces of that friend framework. And yeah, when you find that, I was thinking about this today, like the story of the three little pigs.
Yeah.
There's one that has the house of straw, the one with the sticks, and the one with the bricks. Like connecting over a childhood memory or something like that is putting yourself in the house of brick.
Yeah.
To connect over a system that you use is like a house of straw. So you really want to
Yeah.
find the brick things, and it's the deeper parts of our lives, the things that make us actually human,
Yeah.
not just what we're working on.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, research has shown that we're far more likely to do business with someone who's actually like us or actually has had a shared experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally.
Yeah, that's great. So there's always this question of quantity versus quality. How do you go about quantifying whether, how do you evaluate whether it's having lots of friends or having a few friends that you can actually depend on? And in the business world, it's having lots of sales leads or having a few quality leads that can actually bring you more business. So how do you go about evaluating whether it's quality of connections that you want or the quantity of connections? Obviously, you've got a big number to aim for, 10,000,
Sure.
but what would you say is an optimum number to aim for to actually have a quality connected life?
Yeah, they've done studies on that too. That Dunbar's numbers suggest that you can only maintain 150 close relationships at any given time.
Yeah,
And I'd say that that's probably true. And they say you can only recognize like 1,500 people at any given time. I
yeah,
also think that that's probably true, but I think there's value to both, like having the five very deep, close people around you that you can
yeah,
call at 3 a.m. when you're in trouble.
yeah,
But it's also really valuable to have the weak ties, because they say that those are going to be the ones that can get you the job when you get laid
yeah,
off, or they're the ones that will know the solution, because in your network, people probably, or like your very close network, people probably think in a similar way. So if you have a new solution, you might not be able to solve it with that expertise. But if you go out to your weak ties, they might have a whole other set of
yeah,
experiences, and they
yeah,
can bring that perspective into the situation. And I think in terms of like collecting leads at a conference is probably a similar balance. You can have the weak ties, but also try to meet the people and have the deeper conversations, not just let me scan your badge and get to the next
yeah,
person. Maybe give yourself time to have a 5-10 minute chat with
yeah,
someone at once an hour or something like that. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
think too, to just stay open to the possibility of connection. I've learned through this journey that we are really bad predictors of who will and will not be valuable to us. We think beforehand we can identify them. Oh, this person's worth talking to, this person's not. But what you understand about connection when you do it for a long time is this person that you don't think is valuable is probably going to introduce you to that person. And then that person
yeah,
is going to introduce you to this person who's extremely valuable. But
yeah,
if you discount the first line of that connection, you never get
yeah,
to the third level of it. And
absolutely. Yeah,
I met a compounding pharmacist through my project who's unrelated to the speaking industry at all.
yeah,
But I met with him and he was like, how do you support yourself in this journey? And I said, I'm getting into keynote speaking. He said, I'm part of an association. Maybe we could hire you to speak. And they
yeah,
did. And then his CEO introduced me to his friend. And then she hired me to speak in India. And then she hired me again to speak in Germany. So now I'm getting to travel all around the world because I met a compounding pharmacist. And when I became a keynote speaker, I didn't say to myself, I should go meet a lot of compounding pharmacists. That's probably going to help me speak internationally.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you make a brilliant point there in terms of staying open for that connection. And on my journey back from the US, and again, I think I did a LinkedIn post about this several weeks ago, we shut ourselves off by putting headphones on, by getting into our head into a book. And we're actually putting a sign saying, do not disturb, or do not connect.
Correct.
And I was chatting with a colleague and I was just saying, like, how many opportunities are actually missed to actually connect with people on that journey from your home to the destination that you're actually going, or from your home to even work. We were talking about London earlier, and it's amazing how on the subway, nobody actually talks to each other and you get these cold, hard stares that people give and nobody's willing to actually have a conversation. And if you do have a conversation, people stare at you for doing, for breaking the law.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, in terms of what kind of tips would you give people to keep themselves open to the possibility of people coming up to them and saying hello, or even going up to people themselves? So, how would you get people to, stay open for that possibility of a connection?
I would say just try to ensure that you are getting the correct diet of connection in your life. So for me, because I have this goal to meet 10,000 different people, I
Yeah.
try to meet 4 people every day if I'm not traveling to speak. And so typically, like on a given week, I'm meeting anywhere between 10 and 20 new people. And for me, I have this method with the project to do it. So I have an excuse.
Yeah.
And I say the correct diet too, because if you're getting transactional connection all the time in your life,
Yeah.
you're missing out on the deep, fulfilling, healing,
Yeah.
like the one that contributes to your long-term health and happiness. So
Yeah.
if you can say to yourself, like, hey, I want to be open to one new connection a week,
Yeah.
maybe it's something that you schedule. Maybe it's, okay, I'm going to get that through my conversation with my Uber driver. I'm going to get it through my conversation with the person on the plane. But just to take a more conscious approach to connection
Yeah.
and the healthy type of connection, say you get your 4 people a month, then you can feel good about yourself and say, okay, I know
Yeah.
I'm working towards this. Maybe this flight I'm not feeling it. I am going to pop my headphones in, but
Yeah.
I know I chatted with my Uber driver on the way here and we had a great
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Or I took the time to grab coffee with my colleague that I don't know that well. Or I
Yeah.
chatted with someone who's outside of my industry. And when you do that, the value starts to stack over time.
Yeah.
And then you can recognize in your life how meaningful it's been, and it encourages you to continue doing it in the future.
We talk a lot about storytelling in the world of trade shows and how we use that to actually connect with our audiences. How do you use storytelling in terms of connecting with people? Is that something that you want to learn from other people, or do you get to tell your story as well? And how
It's
do you
both.
do it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's both. And if we think back to that friend framework and that thing about people's lives like a timeline, the
Yeah.
other way is you think about it like the plot of a movie. So when I meet people in person, I'm
Yeah.
not taking notes on them or anything like that. And then I'll share their
Yeah.
story to Instagram. And people are often impressed by what I can remember.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm just listening to the story you're telling me and I'm
Yeah.
retelling it. Like humans have been doing that throughout the history of time.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
like you could go today and watch whatever Avengers, and you
Yeah.
could come out and you could tell me the flow of the movie,
Yeah.
where that movie took place, who the main characters were, who the supporting characters were, how the plot evolved. So
Yeah.
I'm just doing the same thing with people's stories, and you start to think about people in that way, and it trains your brain to think, okay, there's a whole story here instead of just a surface level interaction. So let me
Yeah.
understand what that story is. And I do think it is important to know your own story too. I think, unfortunately, we have a lack of opportunities to just share who we are as a
Yeah.
person. So
Yeah.
I always tell people with that friend framework, like I have a PDF download of it. If anyone hearing it wants it, they can just
Yeah.
contact me. I'm happy to give it to them. But to write out your own answers to those questions, because when you're interacting with someone and they say, tell me about yourself, it's good to be able to walk people through the 30-second
Yeah.
elevator pitch of who we are as a person.
Yeah.
And the more specific information you can give someone on your life, the more ammunition you give them to latch onto to have a deeper connection with you.
Yeah.
So I do think it is two-part. It's really important to know your story so you make it easy on the people
Yeah.
you talk with. And it's important to think about their life like a story so you
Yeah.
can get to know it.
Yeah, yeah. So if you could, obviously you've got your friends framework, but if you could actually design a perfect conversation,
Mm-hmm.
what would that conversation look like?
Well, at the beginning, I always, just the way that I open with people is I always talk to them about where they are calling in from, or if I'm
Yeah,
meeting them in Philly, like, did you grow up here originally? Always assuming that they did grow up in that place originally, because I just think it sets the scene for who someone is.
yeah,
But I also talk, and you know this from my talk, about there's this increased sense of belonging that you feel with the people around you once you get to know
yeah,
them. There's this expansion of your perspective when you're learning new things, and there's the opening of doors to new opportunities, either in the moment or in the future. I would say the perfect conversation would have all three of those things, where
yeah,
you're spending enough time with them to this. And for some reason, I just love childhood memories because
yeah,
it takes you back. Like, one of my
yeah,
favorite things to do when I'm talking to people is to watch them rewatch their life as they're telling
yeah,
it to me. And a
yeah,
lot of times I'll have people who say, oh, I haven't thought about this in a long time. And like, that's
yeah,
gold right there if you're trying to
yeah,
create a connection with someone.
yeah, yeah,
So I think it would be facilitating them diving back into positive memories from
yeah,
their life, their adolescence. So you can form that sense of belonging, learning something new from them, and then
yeah,
maybe teaching them something new that they didn't already know. And
yeah,
then having it lead to either a fun new opportunity to do something new in the moment, whether you're meeting at a new place or you are
yeah,
trying a new experience, or something that occurs after the fact. So to me, that's the perfect conversation. And I think it really is just moving throughout that framework and diving into the different pieces, because you might talk to someone about their education and it doesn't create a deeper connection.
Yeah.
There was a guy that I talked to here in Philly, and we were both from the same hometown. Didn't matter. It formed no connection between us, but we just kind of bopped around a few topics, and then we hit on scuba diving.
Yeah.
And 45 minutes, he lit up and told me his experiences of scuba diving. And at
Yeah.
the end, he was like, "This was so great. We should get a beer again sometime." And so you kind of have to like hover at a 30,000 foot view sometimes, tap into some of those different categories, find the one that really hits, and then you dive in on it.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So I think this is where practice is really needed in terms of the preparation. I think that a lot of teams that go into the world of trade shows, they don't actually have this preparation. If you understood the art of conversation and actually provided training on the art of conversation, I always think that the trade show floor would be such a massive opportunity for a lot more intentional connections and a lot more important connections as well.
Absolutely. And I'll just add that the more people that you talk to in your life, the more relatable you become as a person, because you can't relate through your experiences, but you can relate through other people's. You and I were talking about cricket. I've watched cricket one time because of someone that I met through my project, but I've had other people tell me that Virat Kohli is like the LeBron James of cricket. And when he retired, I remember talking to, there was a guy from India here at a run club that I do in Philly. And I was like, "Oh yeah, I just saw Virat Kohli retired." And he was like, "How do you know that?" And just formed an immediate connection between us. And so that's another motivation to make sure that you're constantly connecting with people, because you could connect with someone on your flight. That's going to give you an experience that you could then relate to someone else on the trade show floor. And you want to make sure you're accumulating those experiences.
Yeah. Rob, we could actually talk forever on these things.
Yeah.
So we're both very passionate about the art of connection, but obviously time is of the essence. So thank you so much for your time. If you could actually leave 3 tips to our viewers and listeners in terms of the art of connection, what would they be in terms of how to improve their level of connection or how to break the ice with people, whatever 3 top tips that you've learned across, the last few years in connecting with people?
I would say treat it as an experience rather than a transaction. When you do that, it allows you to not be so specific on where the conversation needs to go, because there could be so much value over here. And if you're so dead set on getting over here, you're going to totally miss this. So treat it as an experience rather than a transaction. Have it be a habitual part of your life, because it's like you have to have connection stamina. You can't run a marathon if you only run 2 times.
Absolutely,
you have to train up to that. And you can't expect to have a strong sense of empathy and connection if you've only had 2 conversations. And you have to maintain it as an active part of your life. It's a process. It's not a destination. And the third thing, I would say, think about the value that you can provide for people. We get so often in this mindset of, what is this person going to do for me? And if you can switch it around to be like, what can I do for this person? It just totally changes the interaction. And if you can help them, you're just setting yourself up to have a better interaction with them down the road.
Fantastic. I agree with all of those, especially the last one. Where can our viewers and listeners find you, Rob?
I keep track of everyone that I've met on Instagram. My handle is @Rob's10kfriends. And then all of my speaking related things are just at my speaker website, which is roblawless.com. And those are the 2 main places that I exist in. And if anyone wants to be part of my journey, I still have about 2,800 people to go. So I'm always down to have an hour conversation with them. They can practice with me.
Excellent. Rob, it was a pleasure to have you. Thank you again so much for your time. And I look forward to staying connected and hopefully collaborating on something very soon.
Yes, likewise, Lee. I appreciate it.
Wow, what an incredible and powerful conversation there with Rob Lawless. And such a powerful reminder that connection is the real currency of success. Whether you're meeting attendees on the show floor or chatting with a complete stranger on your flight home or in the business lounge, every conversation holds the potential to inspire, teach, or even open a new door. So next time you're on the booth, forget the badge scanner for a moment and ask a better question. Find the brick solid common ground with your target audience. And remember, meaningful connections aren't made by chance. They're made by choice. If you've enjoyed this episode, Follow the Expo Factor wherever you get your podcasts and share it with someone who believes that every great conversation starts with curiosity. See you next time.